you're going to make a spindle that fits lengths of your palm. That's the length of your spindle. Is the length of your palm. And hand hold is what you're going to hold the spindle on place on top of the spindle. And if you didn't have a hand hold, you would burn your hand. And fireboard is what you're going to drill into. This is where the fire is going to come from. The fire is going to come out of the friction we create in the fireboard. A bow is going to be from your fingertips to your shoulders. This bow would be too short for me if I was using this bow. This bow would be a little too long for me, on the other hand, right? But the length of the bow would be from your fingertips to your shoulder. That would be the length. Bows we're going to make out of down branches. To make a spindle, you're going to start by cutting. Say, here's your length of your spindle. You'll start by cutting. There's a great temptation here to hold your piece, right? Like that. It would be so good, but it wouldn't be so good if you injure yourself. So use a stick to hold this piece of wood. That makes sense. So here comes the spindle. And again, please don't feel like you need to make one in 2 minutes. When you are there, the last thing, at both ends, like so. And what you're gonna make one handhold out of two handholds out of one piece. See, that wasn't a good aim. So now it's only going to be one handhold out of one piece. You're going to make a little divot in the center. Feel the bark, so your bow is a craft. You need to make a groove for your rope.
Two more, right?
5.
Yeah. First off, I would want to work on this a little bit more.
Okay.
You see how it's thinner here and thinner here and thicker in the middle? It's not going to work well unless we now, with careful strokes, get this to be. He gets himself a piece of cedar bark. Now this is important that this stays dry. And so, say he gets a piece of cedar bark, and then he can just take it in his hands and go like this. And you see what it does to this? And now you can peel it into filaments, what the bird would do with their beak. And now this, you see that this could be formed into the beginning of the bird's nest. You see that? So if you work with this, that's how you work with the cedar bark. With the birch bark, you're going to take this bunch of pieces of birch bark. Let's see, he takes the piece of birch bark and he starts peeling it off again into the thinnest layers, and then peeling those layers again into tiny little filaments as small as his hands can do, and that goes into the same bundle. Cattail comes towards the end. Start with the cedar bark, then the birch bark, then cattail, and you want to make something that fits comfortably in your hands. Okay? You want your overhand loop to be tight fitting around your bow, like so. So I want for this to be just the right size. So you need to imagine. You need to understand that it's not like a shooting bow for arrows. You want it to be loose enough so that you could put your spindle over it. is how to get it on. So this is a lubricated end, unlubricated end. So here's my knee, here's my arm, here's my weight. My weight has to be right over the top of it. So I can establish, because the pieces need to work into each other. The spindle and the fireboard and the handle need to become one. As I go, I'm going to start putting more weight. And this is where having my body right over it, it needs to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, you're going to tire out. But we're going to put it right inside Brandon's tinder bundle. Now watch what happens next. Side that I'm drilling, this is a lubricated side. Lubricated side goes into the handhold. So now, I was close, because now what I want you, and I'm working incrementally, well, because I want you to understand the whole thing. You see this black part? So if I didn't stop when I stopped, in another 60 seconds of drilling, this black part would get blacker and it will start smoking on itself. Once it starts smoking in itself, it's not going to die. That's what you're going to put in your tinder bundle. And that's what's going to become it broke on me every time. Right before I had a call, and then you start over again.
Right.
You start over again. You start over again. So you need to a place where you can be continuously drilling, continuously working for about 60 seconds of continuous work. And then it will all become smoke and smoke and smoke, and you see, okay, I have a call. And once you have a call, it's not going to die.